Hello everybody, so nice to see you all. So just adjust this camera. So we have June joining us, and here she is. And this is because Astro Science has had 2 teaching gigs twice in a row, and my angels really love June. Hello, my darling.
Hi, how are you?
Wonderful. How are you?
My voice is clear because I have the phone a bit further away.
And you're perfect. Like you're
thank you.
It's perfect, darling.
It's the ring light. It's helping.
Yay! Oh my gosh! Wow! I think I need to invest in like a big one of those.
Exactly. Oh, let me just turn up the volume.
But yeah, no, I think we're perfect. Excellent.
Awesome.
So, guys, we're going to do healing toxic relationships again, especially as it's June's favorite subject, and it's also something that I've been guided is the most important thing for us to get everyone to focus on at the moment, because it doesn't matter how much hard work you do in your life. It doesn't matter how much effort you put in, which coach you hire. If you still have toxic people in your life, your vibration's going to be low, and that's just the reality. So where would you like to start, my darling?
Sure. So I was actually getting ready for this live, and something came to me which is a little funny, but also relevant to what's going on right now. And so I was thinking of the coronavirus, and I thought maybe I'd tie that into toxic relationships. And so right now I've been, looking at the media, and most of it is on social media because I refuse to watch the news anymore.
Yes.
But a lot of it is about fear, and everyone's scared, and people are not drinking Corona beer because they think it's related to coronavirus.
That's just ridiculous.
Right? And so it's getting a little funny now. It's like, come on now, But what I've noticed is that there's so much fear, and all of it is in the media. And the way I think of it is, it's another virus, and I see that a lot of people are dying, and it's out of hand. But the people who are like, oh my God, like we need to stop traveling, we need to stop doing everything. That's something that I think about, and I said, okay, well, you're living in such a fear-based world right now that you're not really living. And
well,
so
this is
what
the
I
thing.
started.
That's the thing, because I said that to the coordinators today. I said, just like any other government paid for disease, this one's just got a bit of a bigger marketing budget. But the thing is the greatest way to lower your immune system is to be in a state of fear. So, fear is poisonous physically, but also mentally. But continue, honey.
Exactly. And so bear with my analogy, but here's what I like to think of it. So the coronavirus, just think of it as a toxic relationship, and, think about where you're at. And so if you're in a fear-based state where, you think of this, oh my God, if I do this, this person's going to get upset. If I do this, like, oh my God, I'm not going to be in this relationship. I'm going to be sick. all these things come to mind. And so you're living in fear, but at the same time, living in fear doesn't get you anywhere. It makes it worse. So you're going to get more sick by thinking about these things. It's going to affect your immune system. And what you can do in this situation, because obviously you realize this is a threat, what you can do is think about what you can do to heal yourself. So focus on yourself. So when we talk about coronavirus, what can you do? You can eat healthy. You can start, taking more vitamin C, getting that in your diet, wash your hands, and all these things that I'm saying, these are things you should be doing anyway.
Well, this is it, Yeah. Take a good multivitamin, have some Moducare in the cupboard. Everyone should have some Moducare. I've said it a million times. It's a plant sterol that increases your immune system by 900% in healthy marathon runners over 30. So if it does it for them, then you can imagine it's probably quite handy stuff to have if you get sick. You can get it on Amazon, and I don't sell it, but it's bloody amazing. I've been taking it 2 a day for the whole winter, and I've not gotten sick. And also get daily sunlight or take a vitamin D, and basically be happy. Be happy is the reason I've probably not gotten sick is because I'm just so fucking happy.
Exactly. And so that's what I realized. And it's very similar to a toxic relationship where if you recognize something is unhealthy, It's not your job to figure out what exactly is wrong with them and why, this is happening and wait for a vaccination. Your job is to figure out why this is healthy for you, what you can do to raise your immunity, and pay attention to the red flags. So, for example, with coronavirus, yeah, it's important to know what the symptoms are and the signs are and how you can stay away from it. But, it's really not up to you to figure out when they're going to come up with a vaccine and when someone's going to swoop in and just save you and give you that vaccine. No. And so, very similar situation. The people I want to work with when it comes to healing toxic relationships are the people who have said, you know what, I recognize these red signs and I need some help to get me to the other side, because right now I'm in a bad place and I want to be happy and I want to attract healthy people in my life. And, that's kind of based off. I don't know if you like the coronavirus reference.
Well, I mean, I don't mind talking about it as long as we are joking about it. I think because the thing is, like I said, with any illness, if you're sort of frail or weak or sick or old or very young, you're going to be more susceptible. And I've just seen it over the last however many years, the bird flu and the this and the that. And I'm just like, as soon as it becomes summer and people start wearing sunglasses and laying by the pool, no one gives a shit. It's gone. It's just that they can only really get us during the winter time, when people are like having colds and flus anyway. Once it hits the summer, no one cares. It's going to be gone. It's just got a huge marketing budget. So let's not give them any more marketing.
Exactly. And so my big goal here is to work with women who say, you know what, I've had enough. Things are not working out. And I'm ready to do the work. Because I think a lot of people, including myself back in the day, just sitting there being like, well, I'm such a good person. I've done all these great things for this person. So obviously it's not me. I just need to, date someone better. Or maybe if I stick around longer, they'll see how awesome I am and, they'll change. But that's not really the case. And then when you start to, see all these signs and things, you start Googling, which is a big red flag. If you have to Google about anybody being like, he did this, like, what does that mean? That's a
yeah, because if it doesn't feel good, if it feels good, it does, and you're not worried about it. And if it doesn't feel good, then you already know too. People just people need to get very tuned in with just what feels good and what doesn't. I think even like with men, sometimes people have a certain type, like, oh, he must be tall, or he must be this, he must be that. Really and truly, the most important thing is when you're with him, if you close your eyes, do you feel good? Like, feeling good is everything. Like, no amount of muscles or height or good job or money or car or any of those things makes any difference if you feel like shit in his presence. I have to also say, guys, I didn't choose the pink and yellow on purpose. It just happened to happen this way.
I love it. I decided to wear green because I think it's a very healing color, the heart chakra.
Yes. And I've recently upgraded my chakras. It's something I did myself. I have no idea where it came from. But my heart chakra, I made it really pale pinky purple. So that's kind of this color. Yeah. Yes. I can't remember what it's called. This the evolved or the ascended heart chakra or something. That's what color I chose. But yes, so guys, the thing is toxic relationships that are romantic is something that June is specializing in. But in addition to that, just toxic relationships, full stop, whether it's with your family, whether it's with, girlfriends that you've had for 5-10 years, it's time to really do an evaluation. If you really love yourself, you will only have people around you that appreciate you, because you deserve to be appreciated, don't you? If you don't feel appreciated and you are putting up with it, it means you're lacking love for self. So you need to fix that. And if you need to work with somebody so they can help you come into a higher level of self-love, do it, and do it quick, because why waste another 5 years of your life not feeling maximum self-love? There was something you wanted to talk about that, June, in terms of when people work with coaches, the best attitude to have, and that kind of thing. And so I don't want to put too many words in your mouth, because what you explained earlier was perfect.
Yeah, and so something I noticed that a lot of people who do work with coaches and healers, they always expect it to be like, oh, I'm just going to wave this magic wand and everything's going to go away. You don't have to do anything. The coach is just going to, snap their fingers and you're going to be fine. And that's not the case. So coaches and healers and teachers, we're here so that we can tell you, you know what, this is what we've tried. This worked with us. It worked with several people. And intuitively, this feels right for you to do. And we're going to help you do it faster than, you know, what you would have to do if you were all by yourself. Because there's a whole batch of people who said, oh my God, this worked. I feel happy. I feel great again. The key is that you have to be ready to do the work and willing to dive deep and do that work and take responsibility, right? Because I understand that, you know, your wounds may not be your, you know, may not be your fault, but it is your responsibility to heal. And so if you keep saying that, oh my God, this person's bad and this person's bad, and you're just attracting these bad people, you have to think about, well, what is it in me? Or, you know, why am I attracting these people? Why are they so drawn to me? And why do I put up with this stuff? And so you may not be doing anything bad to anyone else, but you're doing it to yourself.
Yeah.
And so that's a lack of self-love, and that's what you need to work on. And you find once you work on this stuff, these people will just fall off. Like they'll just leave, because for them, like, well, you know, it seems like I can't really get anything from you like I used to.
Yeah.
And you know, it's just not going to work out for them. And so the key is to do the work. And so when I first started any sort of healing work,
well, you're in the program as well, so you can explain to them, because obviously you've gone a little bit further into the program. When we did it last week, you were like literally in like week 2. Now you're in week 3, so maybe you can give them an update as well, because that's how fast my program works. From one week to another, you're feeling the difference, you know.
Definitely. And I'll compare it to, you know, stuff that I've done in the past. So when I first started working on healing, I was still the little people pleaser. So I was like, whether I did the work completely or not, I'd say, yeah, I did it and stuff. And then stuff would come up later and I'd be like, oh my God, it's because I didn't do it. And then I would bring it up with my coach and they're like, you know what, you don't need to lie about this stuff, because we're not here to, you know, like, it's like, oh, you didn't do it. Like, here's a little smack on your fingers. No, you know, you're not here for that. We're here to help you. And so if you find that you can't do something because there's a block, or you just feel like, oh, you know what, I've done this before, that's what your coach is for. That's when you approach them and say, hey, I'm having trouble doing this homework or doing this work. And, you know, chances are they've seen this before or they've experienced this before. And they're like, yeah, I know where that's coming from. And so when I first started off, it took a little longer, because my ego was saying, oh, yeah, you've done this. You've thought about this enough. You don't need to think about it again. That kind of stuff. Now, when I'm doing the course, it's like, oh, yeah, I got to get this done by Thursday. All right, I'm going to set 2 reminders in my calendar, one on like Monday, one on Tuesday. And if for some reason I can't finish it on Monday, I'm going to get it done on Tuesday. But the reason why it's so important for me to go and get it done and not, you know, just wait around is because I know how important it is. I know the difference it's made in my life. And so for me, it's like, yeah, I know I have to get this done at a certain time. And also it works that way. So for example, this program is 6 weeks long.
For anyone that's just joined, she's talking about the VIP Advanced Happiness Accelerator program, which I'm really selective of who I offer a place to, but June is in that at the moment. And there's a few girls that are in the program or have recently graduated that are watching at the minute.
Yeah. And so, you know, knowing that you can achieve a certain level of happiness in 6 months, that's so exciting. It's like, why
6 weeks, sorry? Do you say 6 weeks or 6 months?
6 weeks. Yes. 6 weeks, that's exciting. It's like, why would you not want to do the work? Why would you not want to be there? And sometimes the ego can step in and say, yeah, you've done it, you don't need to do it. And but what this program teaches you is how to discern between your ego speaking and your higher self. And so what I found in the beginning, when I had to do the forgiveness homework, that's where my ego really came in and was like, you know, you don't need to forgive Sally from grade 4. And I was like, why am I thinking of Sally then if she's good? You know what I mean? So I made this list and I said, there's probably going to be just like 10 people on the list of people I need to forgive. And there ended up being 2 whole A4 size pages of names. And I was like, wow.
Which is completely normal. Completely normal.
Yeah. And then there was a smaller list where I was like, oh, it's just not so easy to forgive people. And, you know, I need to work on that. And so for me, that was exciting because I kept thinking of where I'm going to be. So it's like, oh, if I do this work, this is going to help me raise my vibration. I'm going to attract better. I'm going to feel better. I'm going to be so happy. And so that was my motivation. You know, when I first started healing, my motivation was like, well, I want my coach or my teacher to be like, good job, sweetie, you did it. which is something I was so used to all my life because I was the golden child. I was always aiming for those high grades and like everything has to be perfect, that kind of thing. And now it's very much like, well, I want to heal. I want to be happy on the inside. So I don't need other people to tell me that, hey, good job, honey. It's great. It's great hearing it, but I don't need it anymore. And
No,
so
because you know why you came. You know why you came into the program. And it's so true that if you don't do the work, my program doesn't work. It like only works if you do it and you do it right and you're honest and you really do it and you commit to it. But that's why I'm so adamant. Like when I'm in the discovery call, if it's something you want to do, I will really need to check that it's something you're really committed and you're really determined and you're really willing to see it through, because I have a 100% success rate, and I do not want anybody coming in the door that is not 100% committed, that's not 100% honest, and that's not 100% determined, because that's not good for me. It's not good for anyone. You know, you have to be as committed as June is. But if you are, guys, if you're someone that's watching that it hasn't done my program, I nearly said that isn't doing my program, because there's literally, I've got Lisi from the program. I've got, who else have I got? Nadil, and I'm probably going to pronounce it wrong, Nadil, as well, that's just started with us, Jessamine, that's just started with us, Sylvia, who's a graduate, gosh, yeah, you can see, like, we got, I've got Dale that's with me as well. So, you know, there's a few girls that are just on here right now that have either nearly finished it or they have already actually graduated and they may be moving into a more advanced level thing now, you know?
Yeah, and so my progress so far, so last week when we had this live, I was in the midst of all of it where I was like, yeah, I've just been crying the last few days. And it was more because I was releasing a lot of stuff.
Purging.
Yeah, a lot of purging was happening. And I was like, I just don't want to be around people and all these things. And then, you know, I feel like I'm over the hump and I'm like, yeah. So I just booked a vacation for myself. I'm going to hang out on the beach for a bit. And I was like, you know what? Self-care. I need it. Like, you know, I earned it.
Yes.
And so now I'm like, okay, now I'm in that, you know, over the hump. And now I'm like, yeah, it's only going to go uphill from here. This is awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, or I guess like downhill. It's like you've climbed a mountain, now you're just going to ski. You're going to ski. It's all skiing.
Like
and if anyone goes on June's page, you'll see that she was recently skiing. So it's quite a good analogy for her. It's all skiing from here. Normally week 3 or 4, that's when the skiing part happens. Now, I have to say, guys, that if you start randomly dating in the middle of the 6-week program, that can cause problems, because while you're trying to dig out everything that the ego feeds on, while you're trying to dig it all up, if someone comes in, that triggers like your romantic ego as well as your standard ego, and it can become a bit messy, and you can end up wasting precious hours that your coach would have used focusing on you. You can end up using focusing on a man, and that man may not be here in a year or 2, you know? So it's like, for this 6 weeks, staying focused just on yourself is really important. Now, if you're happily married, totally different story. You know, that's fabulous. That's great. But just letting anyone know as well, you know, when you do this program, it's intense. You know, how do I get results in 6 weeks? Because it's really fucking intense, as June will tell you. But when you come out the other side, it's done. It's done.
Yeah, and the motivation has to be, this is how I'm going to feel. And, you know, that's all it really is, because the work is not physically intense. It's more emotionally and mentally intense for you, because a lot of it is meditations, thinking about your past and, you know, people who you think have wronged you and what has hurt you, and bringing all of that up to the surface, forgiving it, and, you know, going from there. And so, you know, that was my big thing. It's like every time I was like, oh, you know, I don't know if I can do this. It seems like a lot of work. I would think about, wait, but I want to be happy and I want to attract good things in my life. So why wouldn't I spend a few minutes? And, you know, to be honest, a lot of the homework, besides the forgiveness exercise, which, you know, really takes a while, because if you think about everyone you want to forgive, everything else just takes a few minutes of your time in a day. And so it's not, you know, it's not taking up a lot of time. Even if it did take an hour of your day, it's so worth it, because this is where you're going to be. You're going to be in such a high vibration after.
Yeah,
but
your actual body.
It doesn't take a lot of time.
No, yeah. You mean, but your actual body, your mind is different, you know? It's like you've rebuilt the house. It's different. You live in a different house now. Your vessel feels different, you know? And that's what's important. There was something you just said a second ago, though. There was two things you said at once that I thought, oh, I must say something good about that. Can't think what it was now. But yeah, but the vessel is yours. You're going to get to wear it. And, you know, I say wear it because I've been watching this TV show and they call bodies sleeves. So it's like you get to wear this body. So if you're going to wear this body, then it may as well be one that's fun to be in, that feels good, you know?
Exactly.
And we may as well go in and take the crap out that you don't need or want anymore. I just don't know anyone that does it as thoroughly as me. I've had people that have done pretty much every course around the world with every different coach, and they've still come to me and gotten the results with me if they do the work. You know, we are talking about shadow work. We are talking about conquering the ego. And if you're a really intelligent woman, that means your ego is going to be a bit of an MF, to say the least. And so you do have to get the better of it. And we walk you through it. And you can change it. And whereas a lot of coaching, it kind of still feels like this gradual process that happens over a really long time. This is actually like where we just get in there and dig it out. It's like surgery, spiritual surgery. We get it out, it's gone. You could put it back in if you wanted.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely feels like that. And it's so much nicer now to be able to discern, just know when it's coming from a place of fear and when my ego's talking versus when my higher self is like, yeah, just do it. Book that flight. Go. You know, and the ego sets in being like, oh yeah, well, do you really want to go here? Like, what if, you know, what if people are sick on the plane and stuff like that? And I was like, you can't always think about that because, you know, if you're living in fear, you're just living under a rock and you're not exactly living.
Well, you're not living. So yeah, you may as well live. Don't just do stupid things, but you may as well be living. And I guess the reason why we're going into this in so much detail with you guys is that the way to heal toxic relationships, whether they're romantic or whether they are friendships and family, it comes down to self-love. And self-love is achieved through conquering the ego, because the ego is the opposite of self-love. It's self-destruction. It's self-sabotage. So while you still have an ego that just wants to be angry or wants to be upset or wants to be insecure or wants to be acting out in any manner, you're not being able to show yourself self-love. So you're not able to make good decisions with regards to your relationships. So you see how this is all so connected together, guys.
Yeah. And yeah, something I wanted to share too is, sorry, I have two different thoughts in my mind and I'm like, which one should I share first? I just saw one of my friends got on the live and I had this conversation with her on Friday or Saturday. It was Friday night and I made plans to go out in advance when I was, you know, in a different state of mind. And then Friday came along and I said, you know what, I'm just not feeling this. I'm just not in the mood to go out and drink or be around people who are, you know, I feel like reading my book and meditating and relaxing. And so I sent them a message and I said, you know what, I think it's going to be Self-Care Friday for me. I hope you guys have fun. And at this point in my life, I have friends who would not get angry when I say stuff like that. In the past, if I said something like that, like, oh my God, like you said you were coming, even though it's not a big occasion, it's just people getting together for, you know, no big reason. It's not someone's birthday. But now the friends that I have, because they've just weeded out so many people, they're very much like, oh yeah, we understand. It's been a long week. Like, you know, we'll see you next week or something. Right. And I was so happy that I stayed at home because not only did I get to watch Sandra's live event on Facebook, I just felt so at peace. I was reading, meditating. I was in a high vibe. And then the next morning I woke up and did so much work. I was so productive. I did my yoga, meditations. I did 3 meditations that day. And I was in the zone. And I was like, yeah, I feel it. I feel good. Like there's good energy. And then that's when everything started to move towards the positive side, where I was like, wow, I've transmuted all this negative energy and all of the stuff that was coming out for purging. And now I'm in like the happy phase.
Yes, exactly. And then you just keep getting happier. As long as, and I know with you, you're going to be careful. You're not going to just start having some random dating situation because of everything you have gone through. You are going to be very, very careful. And right now, this time is for you. And that's why I know that you're going to graduate with flying colors, and that there's so much more, there's so much more that can be done. And it's so funny because I know Sylvia's watching, and my angels did tell me that Sylvia and June were going to be great friends. And it's funny because Sylvia has just booked a vacation, you've just booked a vacation, and I just feel like, yeah, it's time you guys will be able to connect, because that's what's so great about what I do, is that I have my community, which is obviously been built just to connect divine feminines together with someone from their same country, their same city, so that girls have friends that they can vibes with. That's basically the idea of the community. But it's also meant that I have access and contact with women that maybe can be that for me, in terms of, the other readers and things like that I have do the lives. And then at the same time, it just means that it's helpful to everybody. And then with my graduates, oh my God, they get to make friends with my other graduates that have done the same work, that speak the same language, that vibrate on the same level. And so that's what this is all about. It's all about sisterhood. Sisterhood is so, 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 so important.
Exactly. And I've noticed that already. So, a lot of us tend to follow each other when we see each other on, lives and on your account, and when you post about us. And then you look at the post and you're like, wow, this is someone who would understand me. This is someone I could be friends with, I can't wait to meet this person. And it feels great because it's like, yeah, there are people around you, but I say most of my spiritual friends are on the internet. And so it's like hard to have these conversations with everyone around you. And so sometimes I find that I just, go quiet, or I'll end up talking about Muggle things, and I'm like, oh yeah, that's enough. I
love it. She's just starting to use my term. She's like, I start talking about Muggle things. See, I can't even do the muggling anymore. I can't muggle. My mum's here, and I'm like, Mum, my angel said blah, blah, blah. And Nana just had a message for you to be brave. Like, I just can't even it's so far out of the box, I can't put it back in the box anymore,
Yeah, and
I'm like, literally, I'm like, my Uber drivers have to accept me as I am.
And I feel like I'm slowly moving in that direction, because I find that the more Muggle conversations I have, the more I'm like, oh, I feel so like I'm just not expressing my true self. Yeah. And I want to express it. And so now I'm very like, okay, I'm just going to say more things, going to sow some seeds. And then next time I'm going to say more and more. It's all
and if they're not ready for it, maybe maybe they're not meant to be around, And the thing is, as well as us talking about sisterhood and company and people to talk to, the ability to be alone is so, 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 so important, guys. There was something I channeled and I posted, and June actually made it into a pretty post for me. I don't know it off the top of my head, but you can find it on both the pages. But it basically explains that having boundaries with toxic people comes from self-love, and the self-love comes from the ability to be alone, and the ability to be alone comes from being able to turn down the fear of being alone. My angels just channeled it to me, in case you wondered. Because I didn't know it, and they just went, well, here it is. We gave you it before, we give you it again. So the thing is that understanding that is key too. So again, it may seem like, the subjects have moved around a bit in this live so far, but really it all comes back to the same thing. Self-love and boundaries are the same thing. How are you showing self-love? Have you run out of ways to try and get there yourself? Are you trying to make a big step in life, a big step up, and make a big change, and you don't know how? And you want to speak to some people that do know how, that do it all day long, and something else I've actually been told I would like to warn everybody about, and I won't speak out names because I haven't asked permission, but there is a lady that I've spoken to who's absolutely amazing, intelligent woman, and there are people out there that will actually, scam people for a lot of money to try and help them. So be aware of that too, guys. If somebody, if somebody approaches you or for whatever reason they're asking for huge amounts of money from you to help you, please come to me. Please come to me. Yeah, please come to me and let me just run it past me and show me who they are. And if you want, I'll even talk to them. Like, I'm not scared of anyone on this entire planet. So just, I just don't want it to happen to anybody else. It's not right. This is what I do for a living, and it's my business, but it's also very transparent. And again, you see me here with one of my clients and all my other clients watching. what we do is very transparent. But if there's anything, you know, I just don't want anyone getting, what was the thing that happened to you?
So what happened to me, and this ties in with boundaries as well. So it doesn't happen anymore, but in the past I would get contacted on Instagram like, oh, let me do a reading for you and stuff like that. And then they would say, oh, well, you know, you got to pay this much so I can remove this curse that's been on you. And oh, you've been hexed. And usually the amounts were, get this, it's not even like a couple hundreds. It's like, oh, I need 5,000 so I can buy 4 gold coins so I can time travel and go back in time and stop this hex. And I'm sitting there and I'm like, oh my God, this is crazy. But back then, when I was still dating the narcissist, obviously I had no boundaries. And so stuff like this, I'm like, yeah, you're right. Everything's going wrong because I'm cursed. That's what it is, right? And at the same time, I was giving away my power, right? Because at the time, I didn't believe that I could go heal. I believed that someone's going to come, swoop in and save me and
that was the other thing.
That
was the other thing that you wanted to talk about today.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, no, just encouraging you, because that was the other thing that we mentioned that we wanted to talk about.
Exactly. So for as long as I was giving away my power, I was attracting people who were going to take it. And so the day I actually took back my power, now I don't get those kind of messages. And if I do, usually it's people who are, you know, I find they're pretty genuine, and I, you know, look at their reviews, and if it sits well with me, I'm like, yeah, okay, I'm going to talk to this person. But, you know, part of just having those boundaries and not having that energy of like, yeah, scam me.
Yeah. And so it was just something I did want to warn everybody about that. And like I said, and I'm here for just general advice. Like, you know, me and Alicia, we're here just to, if someone just needs advice and they haven't done a discovery call, you know, if you just want to talk to someone who's sensible and intelligent, that's seen a hell of a lot, we're here, you know, because this is the thing. We want to stop people from making these mistakes because, you know, luckily this lady that did go through something similar, she actually is still doing great, and she's excellent, you know, literally she's doing excellent. But somebody else, that could have literally ruined their life, you know. So that's what I want to make sure doesn't happen. But to what you were saying about people want someone to save them. I think a lot of girls still want a man to save them, and then a lot of people want their coach to save them. And that's why I specifically don't save people. The girls that I take tend to be a 6 to 7 out of 10 in terms of happiness or up. I'm not the one for people that are, you know, that are not in a reasonably stable place in every aspect of life, because I can get them to 10. So I'm not trying to have the ones that are super shaky. I'd send them to somebody else.
Yeah. And something I wanted to add to that is, again, the whole saving complex thing is, oh, I actually just lost it.
Oh, don't worry. Because I'm thinking of the notes, and you're just saying, like, you know, a lot of people do. It's so funny because I don't know if you've seen my training, but I actually say about the magic wand thing, and I actually say, if you're someone that just wants someone with a magic wand to sort out your life, sorry, this is not for you, you know? And
yeah, and that's what it's about. So the ones that claim to say like, oh yeah, pay me 5,000 and, you know, you don't have to do anything, just sit tight and I'm gonna clear everything from here, me and my team clean it. Those are the ones you have to beware of, because in reality, you have to do the work. It's like, if you want to heal, you have to do the work. You know, a healer or a coach is someone who can guide you through it, and they can hold space for you, and they can send good, positive intentions, but that's about it. Everything else.
Yeah, I mean, the way I describe it is, we'll hold your hand through it, we'll hand you a map, we'll pass you water, we may even mop your brow and mop your tears, but you are still going to climb up that mountain by your damn self, because it's your shit that you need to clear. No one can clear it for you. And if you don't clear it properly and you pretend to clear it, it's only you that it's going to hurt. It's not going to hurt anyone else. You know, I know that I've done the same thing with every single girl, and some of the girls do extraordinarily well, and other girls do pretty good. And it really just depends on how hard they do the work, how thoroughly they do the work. That really is it. But the people that do the work 100% are like, this has changed me forever, and I couldn't go back to the old me if I even wanted to.
Agreed.
Yeah. So we're doing good for time. I think we could go on to maybe a different subject now, if you like, maybe more to the I think actually let's do the friendships a bit more, and then let's go back onto the romantic ones in terms of the toxic relationships with your speciality area.
Definitely. And so what I found was when I first split up from my narcissist ex is that there were other people in my life. It wasn't just him. And not to say that they're all narcissists or sociopaths, but very similar traits, or, a lot of it was me giving, them taking, and the relationships were on a similar level where I found them toxic. And then I would think about it like the months before and stuff. I'm like, oh, sometimes this person is toxic, but like, hey, they're my friends, so I can't say anything. But now I was finally getting to this point where I was like, I've had enough. I've had enough of this and that and that. So at this point, I was angry and I was lashing out at people. And so, a lot of the people that I did end up, staying away from or cutting out of my life, I didn't do it in the right way that I would have liked to. And obviously, I'm not judging myself for it now, because back then I was in a different space. I was just upset and I felt like everything was unfair. And so I was lashing out. And so I would tell people, well, you're like this, I don't want to talk to you, and that and that and that. And, now being in different space, it's like I would not even go through that kind of arguing and yelling. It's just not in me. Now it's very much like, I wish you all the best. I know you're going through something, and I'll pray for you and I'll hold space for you. But, I can't be a part of this, or I can't be around this kind of energy.
Yeah, this isn't for me.
This isn't for me. Exactly. And so just having those conversations is key. And, where I was back then, I was just in such a bad place that I felt like I had to say all these mean things to people and like run away and isolate myself and cry and all of that. And, maybe it's part of the process for some.
I think it was. I think whatever got you to where you are now was clearly the right thing.
Exactly.
It got you to the stage that you were accepted into my program. It got you to the stage where now you're thriving within it and you're only halfway through. And yet you've come from being somebody who had a lack of self-love to such an extent that they were with somebody that was emotionally abusive. So look at how far you've come from somebody whose self-esteem is, even though she's probably the most beautiful woman on earth, but somebody whose self-esteem was down by their calf muscle somewhere. It was all the way down here. And yet now look at where she's got to, where she's actually helping other women. And she can speak openly about what happened, because that's another sign of a healed woman is find the most vulnerable, hurtful, painful thing that they experienced in their life. If they can talk it through without shedding a tear or even having a shake in their voice, that means that girl's pretty much processed it. It's like I can sit there and say, yeah, so I was in hospital and I was dying and my kidneys were just making me pee blood, and the doctor kept saying, well, she's probably going to die. And then but then I managed to avoid that and and I can just talk about it. Yeah, I was there, but I'm no longer in it. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, exactly. I'm not in it anymore.
Exactly. I remember a few years ago when I was in that relationship, I was at the airport and I saw this book that I've read before, but I've always wanted to buy a copy and own it again. And it's called The Alchemist by Paulo Coelho.
Nice.
And I read the book and I said, oh, I'd love to be an alchemist. I'd love if someone called me that. And now, a few years later, I'm like, wait, everything I did was alchemy, like turn all the darkness into light.
Yes, honey.
Yeah.
Yes, my angels love that. They're also loving this light on you. This light, whatever this light is. How big is this thing?
It kind of looks like a halo. So it goes right around my phone. I think it's like an 8-inch ring is what it said on there.
Okay, like, yeah. It's working, darling. You like you're shooting a Pantene advert.
Thank you. I love it. I think they like it because it looks like a halo. It's like a bright halo out here.
Yeah, no, it's fabulous. Fabulous, darling.
Yeah.
So does anyone have any questions? We have all you wonderful women here with us. I'm just checking because...
it seems like a lot of people love it. Sylvia, too.
Oh, sorry. There's a lot of people that started waving and I missed you guys. I don't know. Sometimes it does that. It just doesn't show me what's going on. So I'm just waving back to everybody now that I missed.
Yeah. And something I just thought of and I'd like to add as well. Where was I going with that? Okay. So a few years ago when I was in that relationship, part of the reason why I was, aside from not loving myself enough, was just the fear of being alone. So it's like, oh, what if I never find this kind of love again? Which sounds so ironic.
Oh, sorry, I have to interrupt. The two girls that my angels have said are going to be your two new best friends have both replied. Can you see it?
Yeah, favorite book.
It says my favorite book, and then I hate that I keep feeling like I'm saying her name wrong. She's so gorgeous. Nadil just said my favorite book, and then Sylvia said one of my favorite books. So it's like, that's how much you know we're on track, because it's like literally like we're creating like forever friendships here. It's quite amazing.
Exactly. I love that. Yeah. Oh, so where was my train of thought on that? Oh yeah. So a few years ago when I was
needy, that's how I say it correct. Needy.
Oh, okay.
I guess I was trying to avoid saying it that way because I wasn't sure if that was the right way to say it, but now I know it's needy. Okay. Perfect.
Yeah. And so something that came up for me that I think a lot of people might feel, and this is why they stay in these relationships, right? They're afraid that they'll be alone, and you know what's out there for them once they leave this, and they're really dependent on this person. And so now looking back, you know, if I stayed because I was afraid of being alone, I wouldn't be here today. You know, part of me, you know, wanted to stay also because I was like, oh, it seems like he has a mental illness. It's not really his fault that his parents treated him so horribly, and now, you know, he's grown into whatever he is.
I had one of them too.
Right?
I had one of them too.
I was like, maybe if I stick around, I'll help him, and, you know, I'll save him and all of that. And now I look back, and if I stuck around to hang out with one person and save them, and it drained my energy completely, I wouldn't be here speaking to, you know, hundreds of people, and in the future, a lot more, and helping these people overcome this and do better in their lives. So you have to think about it. Sometimes people like to, you know, say, oh my God, I'm abandoning someone, you know, does that make me selfish? If you have to ask yourself if that makes you selfish, chances are you're not. You know, you're just really caring and giving, and you're just so used to that role. And so that's what I like to say. I say, think about what you're doing in the long run. You don't have to be doing this exact same thing that I'm doing, but think about all the people you'll help, whether it's your friends, your family, or just the people who are, you're like, wow, you know, June did that. And so why am I in this relationship? I can leave and have a better life too. So you're setting an example for the people around you, setting an example for your future children or anyone who's influenced by you. And
Absolutely.
So if you look at it from the big picture, it's not selfish at all. It's self-love.
It's
and
sensible.
Then you're helping so many other people after. So it's like, wow.
Yeah, because that's the thing. Quite often people think that anyone that worries about being selfish, like you said, rightfully said, most of the time they're not selfish, and they're people that actually need to improve their self-love through doing self-centered things. Because the fact is if you're the one that helps, you cannot pour from an empty cup, and you should only give from your overflow, you know? So that is everything, like to make sure that it's time to serve the masses, not the individual, which was like what you were saying. And it did remind me, you know, a boyfriend of mine in my teenage years, he was a very good looking guy, but I did conclude that he was a narcissist. I got the book and I was like, oh yeah. And that's it. It's like, you can't fix this shit, you know? It normally comes from their mother abandoning them, and you're not their mother, and you don't want to be their mother, and they don't want you to be their mother. So what are you going to do? You're stuck. It's not going to happen. Give up, you know? Sometimes we have to just say, cut our losses. Something my angels said about bad relationships, they said it's like a tight-fitting pair of shoes that you're scared to take off. What's the worst that can happen if you take them off? You take them off and your feet are free and you can go and find some new shoes.
Yeah.
I mean, that's as simple as that. You know, it's like the angels are watching everyone on this planet, and they're seeing these women and people choosing bad relationships, and they're like, why is she choosing to wear them really uncomfortable shoes? And then pretending that she's comfortable. But all she has to do is take them off and go and shop for some new ones.
Exactly.
And some that fit, some that don't hurt her.
Yeah, and you know what I found? This translates into other areas of your life too. So for example, you're in a toxic relationship. The longer you're in this, you know, other areas of your life will suffer. So maybe you'll start suffering financially. You'll start hating your job. You'll start, you know, certain areas of your life, you're like, oh my God, what am I doing? Because you're settling everywhere now. And that's what I found too. So once I left and started healing, what I found was I was able to quit my job, do something that I love, travel more, all these things that I was like, oh, you know, I don't know if I have time to do it. Oh, like I'm too broke, all these things. I shifted my money mindset, and it's like what I was making back then. And, you know, 6 months later, that's, you know, it was that quick. Everything shifted. And so, you know, I think that was the universe telling me like, hey, listen, honey, you got to leave, do something better with your life, you know? And so it was sending me all these signs, and the signs were in the form of like, you know, I would come home and I'd be like, oh my God, I can't believe like I have to work for 3 more days. Oh my God, today this person said this and that. So, you know, now when I look back, I'm not upset with anybody, you know, because they triggered me, because I had to learn that, hey, this is not for me. I need to find something that is, that makes me happy and makes me excited to go to, you know, do my work. So when you say, you know, when work doesn't feel like a lot of work, when you're like, yeah, I'm just in the flow, this is awesome, that's when you know you found it.
Yes. Yes. I mean, I actually can't believe my life sometimes. I was saying the other day, I opened the double doors, the ones in my, oh, hello. Gotham's come to say hi. He must have finished his teaching gigs. So he's the gentleman that you're standing in for the last 2 weeks. So that's nice of him to come and say hello. But yeah, I literally opened the patio doors in the front room and in my bedroom, and I just was like, this is my life. Oh my God, I'm so lucky. But I've been so grateful for my life for so long now, and I know that's why things just keep improving. And I also just feel guided to tell everybody as well, if you have a problem that you can't figure out how to solve, do literally give it to God. Do guys, say, I give this to you, because I gave something to him last night that I wasn't sure what to do with, and I was given a delivery today effortlessly of how to solve it. So just understand that, you know, if there's something you're not sure about, having that trust in a higher power is really, really important, because then you, like, you know, when you're carrying it on your shoulders, it's like it's your job to fix it. Well, if you genuinely can't and you're like, I've tried everything, do give it to God, you know. And also, obviously, we have the fantastic Alicia watching as well, who is my master coach, who runs the company with me. And I think she probably came up with this just through our conversation. So my angel's talking about putting on tight shoes, and that was inspired by what you said. And now Alicia's come up with a name for it, which is Cinderella syndrome, where they want to force their foot in the shoe that doesn't work. So we now have some new lingo, girls, of the Cinderella syndrome, which is girls staying in relationships where the shoe hurts, and all they have to do is shop for more. There's so many men on this planet. Why would anyone be convinced by their ego that they need to take something that's less than what they should? But I want to tell everybody about the flip side quickly too as well, because there are some girls that are not treating men well. You know which one of these you are, though. So I want everyone to be really, really clear. Like, you know, if you're someone who's dead sweet and someone's been mentally abusive to you and things like that, then, okay, you need to get out. But I want the girls that tend to act out and be angry and shouty and things like that, I want them to check themselves and ensure that they're not being the ones that are being judgmental, or they're not the ones that are lowering someone else's self-esteem or making somebody else not good enough. We have to come back to the basics, guys. If you come across a potential partner for you, you have to assume that they want to love you. You have to assume they're not coming in to hurt you. You have to assume good intentions, like what Dr. Elia said in Christmas to me on the live. You know, assume good intentions. And I do think that, yeah, so there's girls that are actually maybe that have some healing to do, and that they need to actually check themselves and make sure they're not the ones that's hurting others. So I think it's about, again, like the responsibility, you know?
Definitely. And so I have some really close male friends, and, you know, they've shared stories where they were dating a manipulated woman. And so it definitely happened. I think it's just happened to a lot more women, or it's just out there more, because maybe men are afraid to say, hey, I've been abused by somebody. And so that's why it's not out there, but it happens on both sides.
Yeah. And this is it. So the thing is, we're all responsible for the choices, everything that's got all of us to where we all are right now. Whatever you're sitting on, whatever's to your left, whatever's to your right, whatever you did today and whatever you've got doing tomorrow, that was all your choice. Everyone needs to just own it 100%. Because if you can't own all of it, that means you're making it someone else's fault, which means you're not going to be able to move forward, and you're not going to be able to have that mastery of yourself that actually provides permanent happiness. Permanent happiness comes through mastery of self. Again, it's not a magic wand. It's through going in and clearing out what needs to leave and combining the clearing with the education. And when you have those two together, you become a master of your own life. And that's what, it's wonderful seeing June blossoming into it. I mean, it's just, it's wonderful to watch. It really, really is.
It's amazing. And something I did mention earlier was when I first started doing this healing work, I was at that point where I was like, I've had enough. And so I was just lashing out and angry towards a lot of people. So I was probably toxic to them, right? And then what happened was after that phase was done, I felt really guilty. So then I was beating myself up. I was like, wow, you didn't handle that well. You were toxic. You were angry. And so it it went through ebbs and like it was ups and downs where I was like, hey, this is awesome. And then be like, wow, why did you treat that person that way 3 months ago when you were going through something? And so, when I realized that, hey, I finally healed was when I accepted that. I said that was part of the process. That's how I was feeling. I felt like there was a lot of injustice done and I was lashing out. And I understand that was toxic behavior. But at the same time, I forgive myself for it.
Absolutely, because you can tell
I was acting out. Yeah.
I was going to say, you can tell everyone at home what happens when you feel guilt. It just feeds the ego, doesn't it?
Exactly. And so then I was just, all that healing work that I did, it was at a standstill because now I was like, oh my God, June, well, you're the bad person now and all that stuff. But in reality, when you think about it, it's like I never intended to hurt those people. I was lashing out and, there's no real excuse for it. But at the same time, it's not something I need to hold on to. So once I let that go, then again, it's like everything just moves quickly. It's like, all right, there's an energy shift now and you're going to be happier and happier. And then that's how it's been. And so doing the forgiveness part of this course has really helped me because anything that was, residual or was just lying there in my subconscious that I didn't really think of, or people I didn't think of, like someone who said something to me in grade 5 or something. Everything came out and I was sitting there just crying like, oh my God, but it feels good because I'm purging this.
Well, that was what was so good because that's the other thing that I kind of have been told to mention. If you're crying, just know it's because you're evolving. We're so used to associating crying with the 6-year-old little girl that cut her knee or was left out by the other girls in the playground, that kind of crying. Crying doesn't always mean pain. And I do genuinely feel like because June has experienced real emotional pain, that now that when she's crying, she can understand the difference because she can understand that this is actually purifying. This is purging, this is clearing emotional things that needed to be cleared. And I think because you'd gone through such emotional pain that was real, you're able to see the difference now. But there's many girls that when they cry, their automatic thought is, I'm sad. But girls, it's just not. And I encourage crying. Cry, cry, cry. I say, if you feel like crying, lay it on the bathroom floor, on your tummy, and do the whole pounding your hand things. Like, be dramatic. You may as well make a movie of it if you're going to do it. Like, do it.
Yeah.
Yes, do it. Because the thing is that it's a necessary part of the process if you've been holding in pain, which you may have been holding in since you were 6 years old. Like, we've got to get it out. Get it out. Boys too, men too. Crying's good. And if you need to just find something to cry about, go and watch some animal show or some of these silly things that you find on Instagram or whatever. Get some tears going. You can't over cry. Once you've cried it all out, you'll feel great. But if you're still holding in the tears and not understanding what's going on, understand that you are clearing so that you can become the new, happy, evolved woman or man that you want to be. It's necessary.
Exactly. So something that happened a month ago, and this is a great example, was I was with some of my close friends on a trip, and we had a friend who was acting out and certain behaviors were a little toxic. And so once she left the table, we were just talking about, where do we go next? How do we have this conversation with her and let her know what's going on and how we feel? And while we were at the table, I started crying, and it was a few tears that came out, and my friends were like, oh my God, like, please, don't be so sad and stuff. And I said, no, this is important for me. This is releasing those emotions, and then I'll be fine. Like, I'll be able to talk about this and discuss it and talk to her about it. But I need to have this release. And so every once in a while, when something comes up, I'll cry a little bit, and then I'll be calm again. I say, okay, now I can have this conversation. Now I can do this.
Yeah.
It's just so important. Like, don't think of crying as a weakness. Just think of it as releasing emotion. Otherwise, you're just going to have it stuck inside, and it's going to build up, and then one day they'll unleash it on everybody. So it's best to, deal with
volcano effect.
Exactly.
Yeah, my angels just said, be easy with your tears. And what they mean, I believe, is they're almost like being like be generous with your tears, be easy. Let them come easily, let them stop easily. Be easy about tears. Because eventually you reach a point where, you're like me, where I cry at adverts and Instagram videos about cows giving birth, and, but to actually, for a human to really make me cry, it's kind of a bit difficult, really, because I do understand why all humans do all the things they do, so it's crying doesn't, for me, I don't often cry in pain anymore. It's not, it would be extraordinarily rare, but I cry easily. I'll be in church and there'll be a song, and there was a song that they did, and it was just like, me and my whole new age, creating the new age of 5D humans. And like my church is super progressive, so this song was just so beautiful. I'm like tearing up, and then like maybe 4 weeks before, there was this little 5-year-old boy during children's hour, and they asked him what Jesus looks like, and he said, Jesus looks like multicolored pink and yellow and sparkles. And I just burst into tears.
Yeah. And I'm like that too now. So something makes me really happy or excited, I'll start crying then too.
I'm like, it's happy tears. I'm really happy.
This is so awesome. Like, things that I dreamed about, they're happening. Yeah. So that's the thing. So we're going to get cut off in 1 minute, guys. I think we've had a really great group of people. I think a lot of people will enjoy this on the replay. You've done amazing, June. Me and Thank
Alicia
you.
are so proud of you.
Oh, thank you.
And we might have to just organise our own little special gig with you, like for the lives. I'll speak to Alicia about it as well, because obviously Astro Science is back next week. But we will figure something out, and we may even maybe do shorter ones and have like specific titles, and get people to ask questions and everything like that. So
definitely.
Yay! Excellent. Well, everybody,
thank you so much.
We love you all. I love you, June. I'm so proud of you.
Love you too.
I love everyone watching. And if you haven't booked a free call, just book it in real quick, guys, because we are available. We will talk you through whatever you've got going on, and we will help to put you on the right track. And as June will tell you, it worked out pretty well, her doing just that, didn't it?
Definitely.
Yeah, excellent. All right, guys. Bye-bye now.
All right, bye. Take care.